institutions have to look at Bitcoin. The correlation of returns here is very, very low relative to any other asset base. The highest correlation between Bitcoin and other assets is real estate, and that's a 0.3. That's the highest. If you look at most others, very low correlations. This is what institutional investors are seeking. We had a bit of a pullback this year after Elon Musk put Bitcoin on Tesla's balance sheet, Square as well, MicroStrategy as well. And the pullback was all about environmental. Is Bitcoin going to, is it consuming too much energy? Is it going to create too many bad environmental impacts? And so we had the setback from 64,000 to about 30,000. Now we're closing in on 60,000 again. And I think partly because of our work with Square, we held a conference called the B Word, and it was all about the misconceptions around Bitcoin in particular. And environmental is one of them. I remember the same argument being made about the internet in the 90s and early 2000s, that the consumption of electricity was outrageous. It was that of a major country. I forget which one they were using at the time. And of course, we can see how the internet has transformed our lives and increased access to the emerging markets through this little thing called the mobile phone, the computer, and transform lives in such a good way. You can say there are side effects there, but I think everyone agrees that the internet has been a good thing. Bitcoin is the first private, global, rules-based monetary system that the world has ever known. And we believe that El Salvador, what's happening in El Salvador is unbelievable. Today, because the president decided that El Salvador was going to step out and innovate, the president there has given every one of his citizens $30 worth of Bitcoin in a Chivo wallet. Now, if you look at that country, only 1.2 million out of 4 million adults have banking accounts. Already today, roughly 3 million have downloaded the Chivo wallet and are using it not just to get access to that $30, but to do peer-to-peer exchange. So when you talk about the network effect, we think remittances will be one of the most important, and I believe we have numbers on that remittances account for a disproportionate amount of the activity. We believe emerging markets are going to embrace Bitcoin, get away from many of them have corrupt regimes, and they don't trust their monetary authorities. They don't trust their politicians generally. And so we think emerging markets are a huge use case here. And we believe that use case alone, if we take away the 4 major money supplies that probably aren't going to change that much, that use case alone will add, I believe the number is 200,000 if it were adopted fully throughout the emerging markets ex-China. That would account for $100,000 to $200,000. And forgive me, I don't know which one it is. I do know if institutions were to allocate 5% of their portfolios globally, ex-China, that use case alone would be $500,000 in addition to the $60,000 in Bitcoin's price. This is much like what happened with pension funds when it came to real estate in the 70s. It came to emerging markets in the 80s and 90s into the 2000s. We think this is the next iteration. This is the diversification into a completely new asset class, the first truly new asset class since the 1600s when equities launched.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
What would the world be like in 30 years? Take us through what the world would look like in 30 years.
Sure. And I'll start out by saying the seeds for what is happening now were planted during the 20 years that ended in the tech and telecom bubble. Back then, too much capital chased too few ideas too soon. What do I mean by that? Too soon meant the technologies were not ready and the costs were not low enough. And just to illustrate one idea there or example, DNA sequencing, which is going to transform healthcare completely. DNA sequencing, the first whole human genome sequenced was in 2003. It took $2.7 billion and 13 years of computing power to sequence the first whole human genome. Even if costs had collapsed 75% the next year, we were not ready for prime time. Today, we're down to $500 per whole human genome in a few hours of computing power. So we are at the threshold of each of us getting our own geneticist or having our doctors consult with geneticists. And for the first time in history, we can identify mutations in our genomes. So there are 6 billion bits of code in our genomes, 3 billion base pairs of DNA. So and this is the double helix. So 6 billion bits of code. Until now, it was either too expensive or not possible to identify one mutation, which is a programming error in those 6 billion bits of code. Now we can isolate a mutation. Why is that important? Mutations are the earliest manifestation of disease. And all they are programming errors. Now, on top of being able to identify them, there are therapies already in place that will help address some of them, not all of them. In fact, not many of them. We're learning so much that the therapies will follow. But one of the most important therapies is CRISPR gene editing and other gene therapies. With gene editing and base editing and prime editing, we believe that we will be able not only to reprogram our genome and to correct the programming error, but we will also be able, thanks to the convergence of DNA sequencing, artificial intelligence, and CRISPR gene editing, we will be able to discover when our bodies are setting up to move into a disease state, when they're setting up to move into stage 1 cancer. We'll be able to catch cancer before stage 1. And we believe we will, with time, and this is going to take a lot of time, be able to reprogram our genomes and cure the disease. So that probably will, to get to that state of perfection, will take 20 to 30 years. But we do believe that the next 10 years are going to bring such hope. Already we've seen with immunotherapies, training our own bodies to fight cancer, to identify cancer and then fight it. That's causing miracle cures in cancer.
What to do in such a situation? Inform yourself and keep your financial education strong. We from the Compact Group offer our loyal subscribers a free educational portal with first-hand monetary, financial, and economic knowledge. Enter our invite-only Insider Club by clicking the link below. You will get access to first-class information far earlier than the rest. We have prepared a special deal for all our members where you can access a giant pool of Robert Kiyosaki's financial wisdom for just $1. To find out more, simply click the link below and join our Insider Club absolutely free. But there is more you can and should do. Build up several streams of income. More and more people realize that they have to take their future in their own hands, but they don't know how and where to start. We from Compact offer our Insider Club members unique opportunities. Strengthen your financial muscle and get the edge. Click the link below. Become part of our free Insider Club. No financial obligations. But there's one important thing you have to know. You have to become active. So do it now. Become active and see you on the other side.